the Ravens, with the win, and that play made near the goal line, but with the win, the Ravens now get into the postseason. So they're the first team in the AFC half of the bracket. The Ravens are in the postseason. You didn't think they were going to make the playoffs. Of course they're going to make the playoffs, but they're in the playoffs now. Gus Edwards, run, Gus, run. Gus Edwards running for a touchdown. The Ravens are 11-3 on the season, and they have won 4 in a row, and they are now closer to getting that number one overall seed. The team with the number one seed gets the bye. That's how it works, right? Only one bye per conference, and the Ravens would have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Now, Jacksonville, that's where the story is. The Jags dropped to 8-6. They have now lost their third straight game at the most inopportune time, and they've done the unthinkable. They have ended up in a 3-way tie for the AFC South division lead with the Colts, who have played a backup, Gardner Minshew, most of the season, and Houston, who just won a game with their backup quarterback in overtime, as the Texans and the Colts are neck and neck with Jacksonville in the AFC South. But Trevor Lawerence had a couple of fumbles in this game. The better story is in the losing locker room, so that is where we are going to begin here. The question, what does Jacksonville now do with Trevor Lawerence? I've got roulette, hype man, and decoder ring, and we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make some extra chlorine they can put in that pool, because I saw some of the people in that pool in Jacksonville, and they better have some high-powered chlorine, the people that are in that pool there. Man. All right. Anyway, listen. The Jags, we'll start with this. First of all, they're going to baby Trevor Lawerence. There was a report came out after the game that he suffered a concussion, and I guess that gets him out of any kind of criticism, Trevor Lawerence. He had a concussion. You can't criticize him. Well, that's not quite how it works. The offense did not carry its weight in this game. It did not. The Jags defense, actually, for the most part, even though they gave up a bunch of yards, almost 400 yards of offense and 25 first downs, they contained the Ravens from scoring too many points, 23 points, and a number of those points coming off the turnovers, the mistakes. But the Jacksonville, they're in an interesting pickle here with Trevor Lawerence. They are caught between the devil and the deep blue sea when it comes to Trevor Lawerence. He's their forever quarterback. He's their franchise quarterback. He also has a fatal flaw, which is a problem here, and it reared its ugly head in this particular game here. He's in the captain chair, Trevor Lawerence, and he's right there in the cockpit, and he's flying the vomit comet. The mistakes, they kill you. And he did it here. Lawerence fumbling twice against Baltimore, and that led to 10 points. So without Trevor Lawerence assisting and shepherding, if you will, the Ravens, their offense, without benefit of the mistakes by Lawerence, only had 13 points in this game. And Trevor Lawerence continues, and the guy's got a lot of talent, blah, 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 blah. But it's like the East Coast version of Justin Herbert. In this case, though, it is the mistake-a-palooza for Trevor Lawerence here, as he has continued to play Russian roulette. That's the kind of roulette he plays, Russian roulette at quarterback in Jacksonville. Lawerence now has 20 fumbles that he's lost in his career after these two in the game on Sunday night. That's the most of any player in the NFL since the 2021 season. Nobody has more than him. He's played 48 career games, 55 turnovers, 35 interceptions, 20 fumbles lost. Here is the head coach, Doug Peterson of the Jags, commenting on his team's many mistakes.
It's extremely frustrating. There's great effort out there. It's just that we've got to be just ultra, focused on doing our jobs, right, and doing their jobs. And the number one prized possession on the field is the football, and we got to do a better job of protecting it.
Ooh, the number one prize on the football field. Well, if somebody put like $1 million out there, that would be the number one prize. But listen, the bottom line is Jacksonville's been futzing around here. They should have, could have, would have run away with the AFC South, but they have not, and now we're going down the stretch run here, and it's a toss-up. It's anyone's game here, anyone's division the final few weeks of the regular season. Now, page 2 here. Does Lamar Jackson's outlook change with this particular performance? Well, the offense really only generated 13 points without the assist of Trevor Lawerence. But to answer the question, does Lamar Jackson's outlook change with this particular performance? Slightly. Because you're looking at individual honors, and this sets things up now a little bit better for Lamar Jackson. Now, according to the gambling market, the MVP odds have skyrocketed for Brock Purdy. More on that in a second. But it's certainly not over yet at this particular moment in time, and you look at all the variables. And Lamar Jackson playing on a winning team, right? Running around in this game like the whirling dervish. And the highlight play there where he escaped a couple of would-be Jacksonville tacklers and made the circus throw that was caught. Watching the Jags try to tackle Lamar Jackson, it was like the Keystone Cops, early Hollywood, watching them try to run around and all that. The escapability was like a slip and slide situation. And then you also have the prime time factor. You had Chris Collinsworth as the hype man with the knee pads on for Lamar Jackson. I mean, it was orgasmic for Collinsworth. The things that he was saying on television, it was over the top, right? So he's going gaga for Lamar Jackson. He's all excited. Baltimore's clinched the playoff spot, so we know they're in. And it's setting up. Say, win this game prime time. Now you've got a Monday night date with the Niners. And I will guarantee you, if the Ravens beat the 49ers, Lamar Jackson will be hyped up. That's going to be the new favorite for the MVP. If he outshines Brock Purdy and the Ravens are victorious in that Monday night game, prime time next week, Monday Night Football. And then after that, the Ravens play the Dolphins in another somewhat important matchup, I would say. Thank you very much. As the Dolphins also have the Cowboys coming up, so that things could get real ugly for the Miami Dolphins real quick. But Lamar Jackson, with this win, and should he beat the 49ers and Dolphins looking ahead, you get that neon yellow highlighter out, and you're like, okay, he catapults himself up the big board of MVP candidates. All right, now last, where we head to the aforementioned 49ers, they played a game that didn't have any real juice to it. They were the biggest favorite on the board. In fact, the biggest favorite the Niners have been on the road, you got to go back a generation. The last time the Niners were favored this much on the road, according to the opening line. But here's the deal. So headline Arizona, where Brock Purdy threw 4 touchdown passes, and the 49ers pulverized the Birds, the Cardinals, 45-29. They covered that big point spread. They wrap up the NFC West for the second consecutive year. The Niners have won the NFC West. And after all of the festivities, all of that, Brock Purdy got up to the dais there, and he was asked about the most valuable player award. There's this debate, Brock Purdy. The Niners have several candidates for all of these awards, and Brock Purdy was asked about the MVP award, and he shifted his position. Despite being the gambling favorite, Brock Purdy, for the MVP award and still being a system quarterback, Brock Purdy made his case for his teammate, his running back teammate, Christian McCaffrey, to be named the most valuable player. He said, quote, I think Christian should be the MVP. I really do believe that, Purdy said. He does everything for us, runs the ball, can catch the ball. He does everything in my eyes. Brock Purdy said that's an MVP. I'm the guy that hands him the ball off and turn back and watch what he does. There you go. All right, question. Regarding that comment by Brock Purdy. The question is, can you unravel what Brock Purdy actually means in those comments he made about Christian McCaffrey as the MVP? So this This one, not that difficult here. It's pretty straightforward. The Dakota ring says what you're probably thinking when you talk about Brock Purdy and what he was saying there. This is a guilty conscience because deep down, Brock Purdy realizes he's not the MVP. He knows that. We talked about his comments he made in previous days here, and this is more of the same. I mean, Brock Purdy knows the drill here. He saw what happened when you took some of these guys away from him and they played 3 games and he was terrible. Looked like he was back at Iowa State. Come on. So he knows. He knows the drill. He's guilty. It's like, McCaffrey's a better player than I am. He should be the MVP. Now, some people say, well, he's just being nice. He's just being polite. I disagree. I think ultimately Brock Purdy's like, hey, this guy's better than I am. He should be the MVP. That if you were to say who's the straw that stirs the drink, I would argue Deebo Samuel for the Niners. But you can make a compelling argument Christian McCaffrey is that guy. And so you've got 3 or 4 options.